milling machines were becoming more robust, bigger, and we're getting away from the clinician, right? And you guys made this whole environment back. You brought that back into the daily clinical process and made it possible for clinicians to take advantage of milling, since we know that it doesn't matter how good your printer is. There's too many things today, and for the next decade for sure, you will not be able to print. You need milling in dentistry for the next several years. And 3, 2, 1, we are back with Coffee Break with Coachman, and as always, bringing the most relevant minds and relevant topics to make your dental life better. And today I have my friend Nicolas Rohde, that is the Chief Strategist Officer of VHF. As some of you may know, one of the most relevant producers of milling machines, and as you also know, a very important piece of machine for our DSD workflow. We started a collaboration last year, and we're going to tell you this story as well, why DSD is partnering up with VHS and VHF, and what we're going to do with this partnership. So, Nicolas, first of all, thanks for joining from Germany. I know you had a hard time with strikes and not getting your train, not getting your flight, but you're here in Madrid with us. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
And yes, the topic is a hot topic. Producing beautiful restorations in a monolithic way, in a full digital way. It's one of our core values at DSD. It's one of the pillars of our whole philosophy, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, the systems and the technologies and the diagnostics and the treatment plan. At the end of the day, people want a beautiful final smile. And that comes from restorations. And restorations need to be manufactured. And with the complete digital workflow, the quality of the milling machine becomes key. And that's the reason why our collaboration is so important for us here at DSD. But I want you to start explaining to everybody the background of your company, where you guys come from, a little bit of the history, and why you guys are today known as one of the best milling machine companies out there.
Of course. Thank you. So VHF was founded about 35 years ago, actually in the industrial side of milling. And to this day, you can see in every milling machine, also the dental milling machines, that industrial DNA, which is the robustness of the machine, which leads to accuracy and also reliability. So we ventured out into dental about 15 years ago.
So started producing machines not for dental.
Correct. The big industrial machines, portal milling machines, up to 3 by 8 meters. And then
for what type of industry?
That's all different kinds of industry, from industrial applications, metalworking, acrylics working, a little bit woodworking, to specifically sign making, for example. So it's really a lot of different industries that our machines are used.
So 35 years the company started, and 15 years you guys entered dentistry.
Exactly.
What made you guys move into dentistry?
It was actually by pure chance. We were approached by a market player in dental, and they asked us if we can manufacture a machine according to their specifications. Back in the day, no one at VHF had a clue of dentistry. So the machine was made according to specifications, and it was a big hit because it was a milling machine with a small footprint, actually a tabletop milling machine. And back in the day, the machines were huge. They were half a room filling, and no one really could believe that you can mill a dental restoration with that precision with such a small machine.
I remember during those days that the bigger the machine was, the more you thought that the better the machine was. And you guys kind of disrupted that, right? I have a bigger machine, so my machine is better.
Yeah. Bigger, more expensive, and we went the other route. Smaller.
The concept of the bigger the machine, the more precision is because of the weight and because of the size and being so heavy. You don't have so much of the trepidation and the variables, on milling delicate restoration. So you guys just overcame that problem, right?
Exactly. So we used our knowledge from industrial milling, put it into a dental milling machine. They're still very sturdy, so you wouldn't think that some of the machines are that heavy, just because they have a very solid aluminum chassis that prevents warping, vibrations, etc. But then with our latest release, we even overcame this. So we used a technique from the aerospace industry to optimize weight even more, so that you have the same precise outcome, but with less weight in the end.
Mm-hmm. And that is basically, it brings us to the main topic of our discussion here. You guys made chairside milling something completely possible, completely affordable. First, because the machine is so cool. It looks very cool. It looks very clean, very delicate. Something that you can even put on your waiting room in your dental practice to show off, to show the patients how their teeth will be manufactured. Something that I thought a few years ago that would only be possible with printing technology, to have such a delicate machine, printing devices, and have it in a very cool environment in your practice, to have patients looking at that and saying, wow, this is super cool. And you guys brought milling into that same environment. The question here that we want to try to answer is, why should dentists invest on a chairside milling machine, right?
Yeah.
From your perspective, why this workflow is so important, or should be something that every good restorative dentist should think about?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. We try to design machines that are not only small and lightweight so that you can position it everywhere in your office or lab, but you can also use it as a marketing tool. Who doesn't want to be treated by the latest technology? Why should a dentist think about milling in office? You have time savings for the patients. Same-day dentistry is a big topic. You can have a patient out of the chair with a single unit restoration in less than an hour. That is, of course, very convenient and nice for the patient, but actually also good for the doctor, because they can invoice the whole procedure right away. There's no patient dropout when you give them a temporary and they are never seen again. The other big advantage is that you're in full control over the quality of your restoration. I heard from a lot of doctors that they do better dentistry now that they see exactly when they scan what they have prepped. They know where the margins are. Basically, they have the whole process in their hands.
So it means that we will summarize the steps of the production of the restoration, and we know that it's always a combination between in-house and outsourcing, from the initial diagnostic design to guiding the preps and scanning the preps, to then designing the restoration, to then exporting to the milling machine, calibrating and adjusting the machine to get the best out of that file.
Not needed anymore. Calibration is not needed.
So you're going to talk about that. And this is what I used to talk to dentists when they said, I'm thinking about starting an in-house lab, right? So I said, you need to be able to control all these steps, and then the process of manufacturing, and then, of course, the process of finishing, polishing, cutting the sprue, glazing, staining, polishing again, adding maybe a little bit of ceramics here and there if you're missing a contact or something like that. So becoming like a mini lab. And then you have the possibilities. I mentioned probably like 10 steps here to pick the ones you want to do in-house and pick the ones that you want to outsource to a lab, because nowadays, since everything is digital, it's just a matter of moving files. And I think there are many scenarios that are very interesting, for the dentist. It's the same story again with the printer. I always say you need the scanner and you need the printer, so you control the beginning and you control the end of the process. You need a scanner and you need a milling machine. You control the beginning, you control the end. Everything that happens in between, you can choose what you want to outsource, and you can choose what you want to do in-house, right? If you love designing, you can design. If you have a good in-house technician, they can design for you. If your technician on the other side of the world is a great designer and you love it, you can send the files and get back the design and mill in-house. But milling in-house becomes something that allows the dentist to control more steps in-house. So he can have more flexibility, more efficiency, more speed, and he can understand better the limitations. I think something that is very cool from a dentist, having a chairside milling machine makes you a better dentist, because it makes you understand the problems between your preps and the manufacturing. Every mistake you do on your prep, you're going to suffer yourself. You're not going to blame the technician, because you're going to be doing in-house and there's nobody to blame. And that makes you better. You understand better what we call CAD/CAM friendly tooth preparation, right? So what I want to do here is divide actually two types of cases. I think when I think about chairside milling, I think about partial cases, basically posterior partial cases, and then cosmetic cases, aesthetic cases, or rehabilitation cases. Actually, three groups I would go to in three. Partial cases is the easiest one. Then we go into aesthetic cases, anterior upper restorations. And then we go into full mouth functional cases, implant restorative, implant dental supported full mouth cases. That is the third step on the journey, right? I think that, as you mentioned today, as soon as you get a chairside milling, you can immediately take over the partial posterior cases and transform them into same-day dentistry.
Correct. And that's the beauty of an open system. It's not one size fits all. It's basically you decide what you want to do in-house, and you can also grow as you go.
So you mentioned something very important, open system. We know the most well-known chairside CAD/CAM system from Sirona since ever. The majority of dentists that started to do chairside digital 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they started with Cerex system. And one of the advantages was that scanner, software, and milling was from the same brand. Completely closed system, but by being the same brand, theoretically at that time was better user-friendly, and the machines would speak to themselves in a better way. At that time, as soon as you started to try to export files from the scanner, import to a different software, export from the software into a third company milling, people would struggle, right? Of course, all of that evolved drastically, and nowadays scanners in one click can export files to any system. Designing softwares, CAD softwares, can accept these files with precision and design whatever you want. And many of them working with AI, automating steps from the design. And then any of these softwares, or the majority of the softwares, are completely open to then export these files into the milling machine. So I want you to explain a little bit of the evolution of open systems and why doctors can trust and simplify their lives with an open system compared to the old school closed system.
Yeah, as you said, old school, that was also at the time when we entered milling 15 years ago. For us, it was never a question of being providing a closed system or an open system. We came from the industrial side where open was the state of the art. So from a user perspective, the big advantage is that they have a lot of flexibility in what they do in-house and what they outsource, who they want to include into the mixing in production. And look at the penetration rate of intraoral scanners. I mean, there's so many intraoral scanners nowadays in practices. If someone thinks of going into CAD/CAM milling, why would they forfeit their investment? So they can easily mix and match what they like best, what fits best their requirements, their abilities in the office. So they do what they like best and not what companies or the industry is dictating them.
Yeah. And so in a partial single unit or small bridges or 2-3 units posterior, what is the time frame? So let's say I prep, I scan, right? You said that in 1 hour you can have, I think everybody, when you talk about chairside, the first question is how much time, right? So guide me through the process and the timing of the steps to manufacture a single unit posterior restoration chairside.
It's just very roughly on average, because there are different scanners, different abilities in scanning design software. If you use an AI, then it's quicker, of course. Or if you do it on site, it's faster than having it outsourced somewhere. But roughly, I would say a single unit restoration, the scan doesn't take more than probably 5 minutes with the opposing and the occlusion. And some calculation, then the design can most likely also be done in 5 minutes. That's all after preparation, of course. And then the nesting takes probably another 3 minutes. That is putting the restoration, the STL, positioning it in the milling material.
Positioning the file in 3D in space.
Exactly, and adding some sprues so that it's connected to the machine. And then the machining itself, the milling or grinding, that takes also, depending on the material and what kind of restoration it is, the size of the restoration, starting from 10 minutes to maybe 20 minutes. 25 minutes is if it's something a little bit more complex, maybe with a screw hole for a screw retained crown.
And then you need to cut the screw, polish. If it's a material that you just need to polish, you're done in 5 more minutes. So it's like 15, 30, 35 minutes.
Yeah.
And from scanning to being ready.
And that's ideal case. But
everything is moved.
Yeah.
Is fine.
Yeah.
If you need to stain and glaze, we can add an extra 20 minutes to that. And that brings us to an hour, right? So you can tell your patient that from the moment I finish your prep, I'm going to scan you in 5 minutes, and then you can relax for an hour. And in 1 hour, we finish your...
Yeah. Go shopping, or I heard of offices that have co-working spaces. Not too much, that's right. But
pretty fast.
Yeah. But coming back also to the control of the quality, if a mishap occurs, if there's a problem, for example, with the trim line or the shade, beauty is you can just mill it again, and it adds another, let's say, 10, 15 minutes.
You just press the button again.
Don't have to reschedule the patient.
And 15 more minutes, you mill another restoration. Yeah. So usually what happens in posterior restorations, of course, if you have a problem it's not fitting, right? And then you identify there's a problem on the prep design. You need to retouch, 5 more minutes, rescan, 5 more minutes, design again, but then much faster because you just need to correct that little margin and manufacture in more 15, 20 minutes and try it again, right? If the patient is from out of town or driving from far away,
they will be thankful.
Needs to solve the problem that day. It's an amazing solution. So I think that even though you don't need necessarily to do every single posterior restoration chairside, it's an amazing tool to have on your toolbox, even marketing-wise, to be able to tell your patient, if it's the best for us and for you, we can do this chairside in one appointment. So I think it's an amazing situation where every restorative dentist should have that in my mind. You need to have it. And as soon as they see how beautiful your little machines are, I was really impressed. And we use it in every single DSD course. And we do it chairside as well. In the DSD clinical courses, we do also always both. So as we do the live patients, we prep, scan, share the files with the lab, from the course in Sevilla to our lab in Madrid. And nowadays, it doesn't matter where the address of the lab is. It can be on the other side of the world. So we send the files. The lab then does the whole lab workflow, manufactures, ships back the restorations, and we finish the case. But it's simultaneously, we do chairside as well. And we design there, we mill there chairside. So on the third day of the course, we have both sets of restorations, completely outsourced, completely chairside, and they look exactly the same. They look exactly the same. Of course, that you need somebody good finishing if it's a cosmetic case, and that brings us to, I would say, chairside level 2, right? So control first level 1, single or small prosthesis posterior. That will already help you with so many situations. Beautiful marketing for patients, beautiful experience for patients. Then you enter level 2, where you start to explore the possibility of doing some cosmetic cases chairside, right? And of course, then you need to understand who is going to be the artist finishing them. And we teach dentists, if you learn how to cut the sprue, stain and glaze, if you have beautiful monolithic restorations, you don't need to cut back, you don't need to layer, because then you really depend on the lab. So with monolithic restorations, the way we teach with natural libraries, these restorations look amazing, and you just stain and glaze. Dentists can definitely do that and can have a lot of fun doing that. Or have an in-house technician. That doesn't need to be a super expensive, sophisticated technician, because it's just stain and glaze. And you can do level 2 as well. So do you see most of the dentists buying your chairside milling system, buying it for level 1, or already exploring level 2?
I think most of our customers start with level 1. They might buy a machine that can do everything, not even extending level 2, that can also do some implant restorations and mill metal, for example, for abutments, something like that, just because they want to be sure that they have, like the SUV. You typically don't go off-road with an SUV, but just in case you want to do it one day, you have it. That's what we see a lot. But yeah, I see mostly, and I would advise to go step by step, learn as you go, get the team comfortable with everything, and then proceed.
So we talked about level 1 being partial single posterior restorations. You have level 1A and level 1B. Level 1A is over teeth. I would extend, since you mentioned over implants, being able to mill an abutment at the day of surgery, customize abutment. Being able to mill a provisional, if you want to screw retain provisional chairside. These are things that nowadays are super simple for the dentist or the assistant to scan, design, and mill and deliver the implant restoration, chairside on the same appointment. Right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And since you mentioned it, we also see a lot of offices hiring technicians to kind of create their in-house laboratory.
If you have a certain volume and you have a milling machine like this, and you become more successful because of that, the next natural step is to hire somebody that becomes expert on milling, right? On the CAD/CAM process, design and mill. It can be an assistant that starts to enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
It can be anybody on the team that say, I like this, I want to learn. Or you can actually hire somebody with lab experience into the team. Right? We see that happening. Of course, that you require a certain volume to do the business plan and make sense financially. Another cool thing about implants is that by developing these restorations chairside, you can manage the soft tissue architecture, right? At the day of surgery, immediate loading situations, or sometimes even if you don't want to load the implant occlusally, you can already put something that will hold the tissue in position, right? You see doctors exploring that as well?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Just forming the tissue nicely makes it a lot easier than for the final restoration. Yeah.
And you can mill ceramic blocks, you can mill zirconia blocks.
Yeah, depending on the machine. The bigger machines, still tabletop, still a lot of dentists buy that.
When
but
you say
they
bigger, it's not that bigger.
No, it's it's not back in the day big, but nowadays tabletop big. And you can mill pretty much any material that is used in a dental office.
Just to explain here, if the dentist thinks about buying a milling machine to do zirconia devices, abutments or crowns, then you need to consider that you need an extra oven to center the zirconia, right?
Right.
So you're talking about having a milling machine. You also need a ceramic oven, right, to stain and glaze these restorations. So milling machine, and nowadays they have very small, affordable stain and glaze ovens, ceramic ovens. And if you want to do zirconia, you're going to need a third equipment.
A sintering furnace.
Furnace for zirconia, just for people to understand that, right?
Yeah, it really depends on the material. What we started earlier was more simplified, were materials that you can basically take out of the mill, cut the screw, polish, and deliver. But then the more aesthetically pleasing.
For example, if you do PMMA, you don't need no other equipment, just a milling machine.
Correct. And there are also some composite materials that are reinforced that can be just polished.
Composites are growing, so for full mouth rehabilitations, sometimes one dentition cases where you want to be very conservative and you're opening the vertical, you can mill beautiful tabletops in composite blocks with high quality and do a full mouth vertical augmentation in one session, right? Chairside. Right. So, and these restorations, they can last because they are dense, solid, reinforced composite blocks that will last for years in the mouth. So it becomes another great option as well. And being able to test drive that and do it chairside, I think it's beautiful. If you have a lot of patients for full mouth, one more reason to have a chairside mini. And again, you can outsource the design. So you scan the lab anywhere in the world, can open the vertical on the software, design the tabletops, send you back the files in 1 hour, and then you can mill in-house. So again, you start the process and you finish the process, you outsource in between. And as we mentioned, AI is kicking in, and with one click, you're starting to design restorations yourself, and you don't need, in simple cases, you don't even need a lab, a designer, right? And I think that posterior restorations can be completely designed by AI.
Yeah, for simple restorations, I think we will always need good technicians to give the artistic touch, and for larger span restorations, for more complex cases. But yeah, for simple stuff,
quadrant dentistry, AI can read the morphology of the existing teeth. AI can bring the libraries and fit the restorations, and you may need just to fine tune and touch here and there, right? So you start to be able to do more and more chairside faster with the help of an assistant, for example. if you don't enjoy working with computers.
Exactly. That's also what we see here, that there's on the one side the dentists who want to do everything themselves because they just enjoy it and like to be in complete control. And then there are a lot of dentists who say, okay, I earn my money with wet fingers and I let the other stuff do someone else.
Delegate.
Exactly. Delegate to one of the team members or outsource.
When you talk about the most simple machine that you guys have, the complete portable one, first, what is the price of this machine, just in average for people to understand, and what can you mill with that machine?
So that's the latest addition to our portfolio, machine, part of the E series, and we designed that series of machines with the dentist in mind. Most importantly, it should be super easy to operate, to maintain, and also to install. There are very low requirements. No compressed air needed, for example, which is a big thing. It starts at 16,980 euros. So it's low investment, 16. Low investment, and there are also low operating costs. There's no mandatory license fee for the CAM software, which is a big topic. And you can do single visit dentistry with no problem. You can mill, for example, ceramics, Emax zirconia. It also has a dry milling capability so that you have a wide range of applications, all out of single blocks. So you are limited to, let's say, 3 to 4 unit bridges. Mostly it's used for single units.
So you said wet and dry. So this little one does wet and dry milling.
Correct. There's a little extra tank that you can acquire, and that allows you to dry mill zirconia, which is the preferred way to do. Other machines do, in our portfolio, do wet mill zirconia, which is also possible. It just adds a little bit of time for the drying of the zirconia before it's getting sintered.
And then, of course, you have from this little one all the way to the more robust ones that are the ones that usually labs are buying, right?
Correct. Yeah. A bigger machine is around 58,000 euros. And
16 to 60, kind of.
Roughly.
Yeah.
Roughly. And that is the SUV that gives you all the options, and it is more designed for a laboratory. And we were actually surprised how many dentists are buying these machines. I just visited a dentist who has 2 of these in his office.
That's a good question. Redundancy. Every industry knows about redundancy. So if you need a machine, you actually usually have to buy 2 because machines break and machines have to be in maintenance and you cannot stop production. Of course, that for a lab, this is much more important because you're manufacturing hundreds and thousands of restorations every month and you cannot stop. You said that these little machines generate very little maintenance, right?
They require little maintenance. They do require maintenance. It is a machine. There are moving parts that need to be maintained, but there's a clear script of what you have to maintain when. So it's also easy to follow for the practice staff. Even if we always see staff turnover in offices, but we have a lot of online video content and other digital content to maintain the machine. Correct.
And of course, on that short period of time, you can send your cases to your lab to manufacture, right? So it's
correct.
Not...
Maintenance typically is done at the end of the day or in the morning, so this does not disrupt the office workflow. In case something would break, and you're right, with labs, they have a lot more or higher throughput. In an office, the machine is used for a few units a week, typically. These last a very, very long time. And then with redundancy, it's for this doctor, for example, he mills dentures and then has also single visit patients in between. When one machine is blocked, he can use the other.
And I think that everybody can really trust when you say that maintenance is little and it's very robust and accurate, etc. In what city you guys are based?
We are based out of a small town south of Stuttgart, an industrial area. Yeah.
This may sound a little cliche, maybe even biased, but if I needed CAD/CAM restorations in my mouth, I would definitely require a German machine to manufacture it, right? And you guys are known for that, and it's something that the whole world admires. So it's an extra factor. Everything is produced in Germany, manufactured in Germany. The engineering and the systems and solutions are created there. You said it. You guys manufacture most of your own pieces for all the machines, right? And have very strong quality control process.
We have and that's probably sets us exactly. That sets us apart from a lot of milling machine manufacturers. That we have a very broad vertical range of manufacturers. So we do manufacture parts for our milling machines. For example, the electronics. The CNC controller, which is kind of the brain of a milling machine, is made by VHF Electronics, a subsidiary of VHF. And other parts are actually being milled by industrial VHF machines for the dental machines.
So your machines are milling the pieces for your machines.
Exactly.
It's cool, Phil. And the same way that dentists want to control as many steps as possible in their treatments, you guys are controlling all the steps on your manufacturing of the machines. And I think
that's our philosophy.
That really puts you guys apart. As we know, nowadays machines are manufactured everywhere, and you have so much competition and different companies and brands, and we know all over the world. But I still believe that you guys are ahead when it comes to consistency and high quality, right?
Yeah. And maybe another thing that sets us apart and that plays into that consistency of quality range is that we do not only manufacture the milling machines, but also the milling tools, the burrs. And we also provide the CAM software. And with these three elements, we can really we can fine-tune the system. And that is for quality of restoration, precision, for milling time, and then last but not least, also for longevity of the milling tools and the milling machine.
So for everybody listening here, if you're thinking about buying a milling machine, first of all, you should consider VHF for sure. But if not, you should consider these. You should analyze these three aspects, right? Not only the machine, but the tools for the machine and the software for the machine. Because sometimes the machine is okay, the software is bad.
Well, or it's just optimized for one thing. For example, for milling speed, not considering the quality of the restoration or the longevity of the machine, and it's very tough on the components of the milling machine. The machine could actually break quickly.
Yeah, we see that in cars, right?
Yeah.
The software destroying the hardware.
Tune cars.
Yeah.
But also let me add here, even though we provide these three things, it's still open technology. So you could use other CAM software, you could use other milling tools. We advise against it because it's a proven system. We have a lot of smart people working on that every day to really optimize things, but it is open.
Just to clarify to everybody, the term CAD, CAM, you mentioned CAM software, right? Usually people think like CAD is the software, CAM is the machine. And roughly, it's kind of like that. CAD is the design software that you're going to design the restoration. And CAM is the milling machine that will, or whatever machine that is going to manufacture that design, right? But what you need to understand is that to design a restoration, you need a CAD software, but then you need a software connected to the cam, to the milling machine. So, oh, I have Exocad and I bought a VHF milling machine. That's not enough. You need Exocad, then you need a software connected to the milling machine, right? That will make this bridge between whatever was designed and will allow you to manipulate the milling machine. Is that correct?
Well, let's say it like this. You need the CAM software to operate the machine. The CAM software calculates the tool path, the milling strategy, where the tool is going in that three-dimensional space. And then the user interface where the user would actually work with the software is mostly selecting the material, selecting the tool, predefined tool paths depending on indication and material, and then last but not least, positioning that.
But we're saying this because some companies may manufacture a milling machine, but not necessarily the software to manage the machine. And there's companies developing just open softwares to manage machines, right? That so you can play with all different brands. And you're saying that you guys actually do both. You do the machine and the software to manage, even though your machine is open to be managed by an outside software as well.
Correct.
But, if you keep it in-house, everything the same.
It's a plug-and-play system that you can get.
That. So it's amazing to see that a milling machine became a plug-and-play solution, right? If you go back 10 years, when we started to do mill restorations, it was,
you needed an engineer, someone who controls, who programs the milling machine.
Right? Yeah. And now to be able to mill 0.2 millimeters on a margin on beautiful morphology and make sure that your machine is designing this texture and this morphology. And today machines can do that, on a plug-and-play way is just amazing. You guys also did or do white label type of, you did. I remember that when I first heard about you guys, I didn't even know that you guys were selling VHF, branded as VHF, directly to the consumer. I knew that some major brands out there, major companies, were putting their brand over your machine to sell their milling machine. So how is that process today?
Exactly. So when we entered into the dental space, we only sold white labeled machines. We had companies who put their logo on, who maybe tweaked the CAM software a little bit to their liking, added their materials to the process. We have also some companies who had their own housing, so that it was not really been recognizable as a VHF machine. But then about, I would say, like 7-8 years ago, there was a little bit of a switch with one big reseller who said, no, we want the VHF brand. It's known now. It's a reputable brand. We don't want our own label. We want the VHF label. And that was the beginning of when we started to sell more and more machines with the VHF label. And we do that to this day, but 100% through distribution. So you said earlier we sell those machines directly to the customer. It's always going through one of our carefully selected and well-trained resellers.
So you promote the machines, you promote the brand, but you always have a reseller in different locations.
Correct. Yeah, we sell worldwide, and they are our representatives basically in the countries.
And my final topic before you talk a little bit about the vision and what where the company is moving, where do you see milling going? My final topic is to learn, even though we say it's plug and play, we know that people will have to learn how to incorporate this, how to start using it, and what do you guys do to help doctors and assistants and clinical teams to become good with milling?
Yeah. So, as I said, we have the resellers with their trained personnel that can help new users with installation and getting actually off the ground. And they are also there for supporting doing the process. It's one thing to learn, and then you don't use it for 2 weeks because the office is closed over the holiday and you forget. So it is a learning curve, but we are really striving for simplifying that process so that users can self-educate and can always use that as some single source of content. They can look up at the VHF YouTube channel, have a lot of educational videos. They can look up some documentation and get tips and tricks. And even though we have the resellers, VHF is always standing behind those resellers. We provide second level support if there's a question that cannot be answered or a problem that cannot be solved by the local teams. And we are providing more and more information now via those digital channels.
So basically, I would say you guys are working in 3 levels to help people take the best advantage of the technology. First, simplify the process to become as plug-and-play possible, right? And we know it's really something very intuitive and very simple. On top of that, great online content, tutorials and webinars and manuals that you can access online to guide you. And then third, high-quality customer support, meaning real people behind the phone or behind the computer, connecting with the dentist and the team, first locally, trying to fix the problem locally, and having the headquarters constantly on standby to answer the more complex situations and help customers to overcome these issues.
Correct. And we have 3 locations right now, VHF for the second level support, one at the headquarters in Germany, one in the US, and one in China. So we cover pretty much, also from a time zone perspective, pretty much around the clock, and for 5 days.
So to end this conversation, I just want you to finish explaining the vision of the company towards the future. How do you see the process of milling dental devices moving into the future, and how you guys are staying ahead of the game in this environment?
Yeah, we want to really enable everyone to manufacture on-site, in-house. And looking at dentistry, that holds true for both industries that we serve, but looking more specifically into dentistry, we want to enable every dental practitioner to afford and to operate a milling or a grinding machine or a trimming machine to produce high quality restorations or other dental applications on site with a maximum ease of use and for the highest patient satisfaction. Nothing more, nothing less.
No, that's it. I think that you guys brought, honestly, milling machine back into the game. We knew that labs would need milling machines for many, many years to come to manufacture devices. But at one point, I saw printing technology coming and really becoming friendly chairside, right? And milling machines were becoming more robust, bigger, and were getting away from the clinician, right? Yeah. And you guys made this whole environment back. You brought that back into the daily clinical process and made it possible for clinicians to take advantage of milling, since we know that it doesn't matter how good your printer is. There's too many things today, and for the next decade for sure, you will not be able to print. You need milling in dentistry for the next several years. And but you also need to become modern by doing it chairside, because printing showed us the beauty of doing chairside. And milling was like looking from far away, saying, oops, can we get there? Yeah. And you guys made machines so easy, so user-friendly, so small, so efficient, so predictable, so low maintenance, low price, that nowadays, for me, every dentist needs a chairside milling machine. There's not even a doubt.
Yeah, and you're right. I see that with printing as two complementary technologies, certain advantages for printing, no doubt, but there are also certain limitations with printing, and then advantages for milling, may it be the wideness, the wide range of materials, of applications, indications that you can cover. And the aesthetics is also at a different level still. So there are certain doctors who have invested some years ago when the prices really dropped for printing, now seeing the beauty of in-office production, but also the limitations. And always like to tell that story of the one dentist who told me that printing was actually her gateway drug into milling. So I think that's a nice analogy.
That's exactly it. The conclusion for me here is you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong by having a chairside milling machine. As a dentist, as a restorative dentist, you can't go wrong. There's not even a doubt, right? And my final message here is that in all DSD clinical courses, we use your machines. And I asked you about how to learn the process, and you have the simplicity, the online content, customer support, but you also have the DSD courses, because at the DSD courses, we show every single step of the process, from collaborating with the lab, using this chairside, from doing everything chairside. We show it all, and everybody can see the steps.
And so, yeah, I'm grateful that you help here educating dentists worldwide to see the benefits of
That's what we do. That's what we love doing. Education is on our DNA, sharing ideas, sharing strategies that we think are pragmatic, realistic, efficient, and beautiful. And that's what is happening with our milled restorations. Thank you, my friend. It was great to have you. I hope
Very good. Thank you for having me.
Informative. And you can find VHF online for more information, or come to our courses. And your final message to everybody, please.
Well, thank you again for having me here. It's a great pleasure to speak with you, to chat about the future of dentistry. And it's great to partner with DSD to again educate the world about the beauty of milling.
Let's do it. Cheers.
Awesome. Thank you.